We're going to go ahead and start the mean absolute deviation. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our data set and we're going to put it into our chart. And we're going to put it in least to greatest. So we're going to put 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do step 1, which is we're going to find the mean or the average of the data. So when we find the mean, we're finding the number that would be in the middle of this data after we put it in order from least to greatest. So the way that we do that is that we take our 6 numbers and we put them up in the numerator of a fraction, and we're going to add them together. And then we count the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have 6 numbers in our data set, so that's the number that we're going to divide by. So if you take out your calculator or the calculator software, you're going to notice that I did Control Divide to get my fraction. And then I put my parentheses in because I want the computer to add all of these numbers first. And then I want it to divide by 6. Now, for our work, you're going to add these numbers first and you'll get 27. And then you'll do 27 divided by 6. Remember that if we want it to be a decimal, we're going to do Control Enter, and that's going to give us our 4.5. So what is 4.5? 4.5 is our mean. That's the number that would be in the center of this data if we put it from least to greatest. So we're going to go ahead and go back up to our chart, and now we know what our mean is. So we're going to fill it in. So our mean is going to be 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. All right, now let's go to step 2. Step 2 is we're going to take our data and we're going to subtract the mean. So you'll notice that I took our data 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and I'm subtracting the mean. So we're going to go ahead and do what we always do. We're going to add a line and change the sign, and add a line and change the sign, add a line and change the sign, add a line and change the sign, add a line, change the sign, add a line, change the sign. Now, when we go back to solve this first one, what do we have more of? We have more negatives. How many more do I have? Negative 3.5. What do I have more of? Negatives. How many more do I have? Negative 1.5. What do I have more of? Negatives. How many more do I have? Negative 0.5. Now, what do I have more of? So these last 3, I have more positives, so my answers are going to be positive. And of course, you can also do these on the calculator to double check that you have the right numbers. All right, so now I've taken the data and I have subtracted the mean. What I've just found is their difference. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in our difference. So the difference is negative 3.5, negative 1.5, negative 0.5, 0.5, 1.5, and 3.5. My next step is that I have to find the absolute value of each of the differences. When we find the absolute value, you're going to see absolute value signs. They're just 2 lines that go around the number. This says, find the absolute value of that number. Now, when we're talking about the absolute value, what we're talking about is really how many steps away from 0 is this number. We don't want to know what direction, so we don't care whether it's positive or whether it's negative. We're just trying to figure out how far away from 0 this number is. But one of the easiest ways to do absolute value is to remember the washing machine. If you put dirty clothes inside the washing machine, and you'll see with the washing machine here that if you look, you see the absolute value signs. So if I'm putting the negative numbers into the washing machine, so negative numbers into the washing machine, just like I put dirty clothes into the washing machine, they're going to come out positively clean. So when I take the absolute value of negative 3.5, I'm going to get 3.5. If I put negative 1.5 into the washing machine, it'll come out positive 1.5. If I put negative 0.5 into the washing machine, I'll get positive 0.5. Now let's think about the washing machine if I put clean clothes in. If I put positively clean clothes into the washing machine, they still come out positively clean. So I'm going to have 0.5, 1.5, and 3.5. So when you're taking the absolute value, all of your numbers are going to change to positive. So we're going to go ahead and fill in our absolute values. So the absolute value of negative 3.5 is 3.5. The absolute value of negative 1.5 is 1.5. Absolute value of negative 0.5 is 0.5. Absolute value of 0.5 is 0.5. Absolute value of 1.5 is 1.5. And absolute value of 3.5 is 3.5. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add those numbers up. So when I add 3.5 and 1.5 and 0.5 and 0.5 and 1.5 and 3.5, I get 11. Now, when I find the mean absolute deviation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of my means, all of my absolute value means, add them all together. That's the 11 that we just got. And we're dividing by 6 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So when I put this into my calculator, again, I'm going to do Control Divide. I'm going to put my parentheses in, and I'm going to do 3.5 plus 1.5 plus 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 1.5 plus 3.5. So notice that I've put all 6 of my numbers in, and I'm going to divide it by 6. Now it's super important that if you're doing this on the calculator, that you put the parentheses in. And I would strongly recommend that you do it on the calculator because it'll go a lot faster. All right, now remember, I want it to be a decimal, so I'm going to do Control Enter, and I get my decimal of 1.8333. Now, for all of our answers, we're going to be rounding to the nearest hundredth. So in order to round to the nearest hundredth, what we're going to do is we're going to look at, this is our tens place value. This is our hundredths place value. So we need to look at our thousandths place value. If this number here is larger than 5, then we're going to change this number here. So if this number here is greater than 5, then we're going to change this number. If it's not greater than 5, it stays the same, and the rest of the numbers drop off. So our mean absolute deviation is going to be 1.83. So our mean absolute deviation is 1.83. And now you know how to do mean absolute value deviation.